Welcome to a brand new Avid Carpers. Now this year we're filming on a variety of different lakes around the country, showing you all the latest tips and tactics from the Avid Carp stable, and of course all the latest products. But first we'll start back in a wet and miserable April, somewhere not far away from the world's busiest airport.
Here we are with John Finch, right up in the corner. It's called Concrete Corner, this peg, mate. Fox Pool, what's your thoughts so far?
Oh, what a lake. It's my sort of lake. It's really snaggy around the edges, and spent most of the day yesterday just having a walk round and found some fish sort of sneaking about, and that's my sort of fishing.
It's cracking. I mean, it really. This I fished it years ago, and it can be quite taxing, which is also nice because it fires you up, doesn't it? Yeah. And you've seen some good fishing here yesterday in this corner. Haven't you?
Saw about 8 fish. Throughout the day, just cruising through the margins, but they're very.
We ought to mention we're also sitting under the outward runway, well not under the runway, but the flight path of Heathrow Airport, which is why we're getting all this. But no, they were good fishing there and all, John, weren't they?
Yeah.
No, I've decided to go with the 20mm boilies, which has done me well this year so far. You're doing it different, aren't you? So
yeah, I mean, I use the bags pretty much for most of my fishing. For me, it's a way of putting out a short rig and presenting it properly, whether it's 5 yards out or 100 yards out.
But see how you fish. Now again, I repeat, I fished here a lot over the years. Not for about 8 years now, but when we fished it, I wouldn't mind betting there isn't a member on here. That'll be a line bite. That'll be a line bite on my one, which is just behind the camera there. So it's the pink one. I'm going to leave that there. Right. So I wouldn't mind betting, and I don't know many of the members now, but I bet none of them are adopting the way you are. It'll be what I'm doing, all bits of plastic and the odd tie up, but not a solid bag approach.
I fished around this area a little bit a few years ago, and it seems to be sort of big boilies, fishing over boilies, and maybe a bit of pellet if you're lucky, but it's mainly sort of boilie fishing. So,
but you are breaking the boilies up and putting them in there, so you are using boilies as such.
I put a few boilies in, but I doubt if anybody uses this sort of method.
I'd almost guarantee it, John. So to come on, I mean, it's the first time you've even seen the lake, to be fair. It has got a reputation of being quite difficult in all fairness. So we haven't come expecting to catch a load of fish like we would on Brasenose, but it'd be nice to get a bite each, and that's what we've sort of aimed at in 48 hours, which is what we've got. Yeah. This is what it's not that I'm unconfident in what I'm doing, because I wouldn't be doing it otherwise, but this, I've definitely got you and where you're fishing for maybe the first take or something. We'll see. It's just a different way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't really want to be piling a load of bait in this corner. There's fish coming in and out, so I just want a parcel of bait presented around the snags with less disturbance as possible.
And the way you're doing it there?
Yep. I mean,
go on, because there's different ways of compacting it down. And
everybody ties a bag off differently. Personally, I don't use PVA tape to tie the bag off.
Reason?
I actually use a bit of mono. The reason, there's 3 reasons really. When I fished sort of Horseshoe Lake a lot, when I was getting a lot of bites, I was only like 14, 15 years old, and I couldn't afford spools and spools.
So you're older than that now, are you? Oh my God! You don't look it, sir. Go on.
So it's just I used to use line because I didn't think it made any difference.
Fair comment, mate.
Difference when you tied a bag off. But the main importance is you can get it tight. You can get the line really tight. You can put it down tight, and obviously the bag finishes off.
And the point of having it so tight is it flies further, sinks faster. Yeah. So a bag that isn't sort of rock hard almost and really compact is not something you'd be using.
No, I mean you've got like the lick and stick method at the moment, but to be honest, you're doubling the bag over, so you're leaving more residue, and I'm not convinced, if you did whack it, that it would actually hold.
Yeah, because there's nothing.
All the pressure is on that bit where you've licked over, and if you really are whacking it, there's a chance that the lead can move. And
you are, yeah. See, I've looked at that style of. I mean, I do it with the PVA tape because I was never 15, I don't think, anywhere in my mind. I still aren't, actually. No, because obviously we get the PVA tape with Avid, but I've looked at this other method. That's the downsides I saw was that you're doubling over the bag at the top, which takes, you know, longer to melt if you're in that situation where it matters. But the bottom of the bag's still weak anyway. So, but I never thought of, you know, the power when you're throwing that a long way could whip it all out the top of the bag.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair enough.
you know, you're placing everything in the bag perfectly, and the last thing you want is the lead to move or anything to move inside the bag.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the lines, you know, you can, because you tie it round.
Yeah.
And get it drum tight. You can bash the corners in. You can get the bag, you know, so tight, and then you can fish it at range if you need to. Yeah,
and it's not going to, anything saggy is going to melt faster anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
It needs to be so compact like an orange, really, isn't it? But yeah, I do the tape method, which gives you the same finished product as this, really, doesn't it? A nice tight bag, as we said, sinks faster, flies further, and when she's melted. Now that also, in all fairness, with this lick and stick, you can do it with ours because we've been doing it in the shops and some of our customers do it, but do you really want to be licking that when it's been sat in your bucket for the pellet for weeks on end? It's just not very hygienic, is it? So, you know, John's been doing this forever, in my opinion, and he's one of the best anglers I've seen using solid bags, so if it's good enough for you, mate, it's good enough for me.
Listen, how quiet is that? Where are we? The Sitch, part of RH Fisheries Complex, and we're in the middle of a pine forest. Bear in mind where I come from, this is incredible for me to be here. So, right, what are we doing? We've all tipped up here, the whole team today. None of us have ever seen it other than John. And we've selected where we're going to fish. Now, one of the questions I get asked a lot, wherever I go, is why are you there? Not here, but why are you in that peg? What's out there? How are you going to approach it? What tactics you're going to use? Well, the guys now have had a couple of hours, and the girls, because we've got Angie here, have had a couple of hours now. They're all settled in. So I think the best way of answering your questions is if we go round to 3 or 4 of them and check out their answers, shall I? Come on in, follow me. Right, the guys yesterday, when I left you, we'd had a couple of hours to walk round and have a little look round and select swims, really. They've had a night's fishing now. We never managed to get round to them late afternoon. And round there with Chris and Ange, who Angie again has done the best, ironically enough, out of all of them for a gal. But Chris, you know, I know you spent a couple of hours, more than the other lads, in all fairness to you guys. Why have you, why did you all go to the side? Why did you end up in this one? Why did you choose this area?
Well, we walked around the whole lake, found this one was the more central, if you like, of all the swims. Plus, you'd have got a feature to the left, which suits Angie's fishing down to the ground, really. It's an island just off to the left of the peg, and it gives me open water. And
which is what you prefer anyway.
I prefer open water. I've got a bit of range fishing in front of me. I mean, not mega range, but gives me open water. The fish were all over the lake, so it didn't really matter, I think, where we set up, because the fish were everywhere.
So what have you done? So you've set up now with a couple of rods each. Angie's obviously on the left, as we can see. You're on the right in open water. What did you do about? Did you do any feature finding? How have you approached it?
Well, I've got to be honest. The information that
honest
I had...
is good. Honest is good.
The information that we had when we got here was that there was very little features in the lake. It was pretty barren. There's nothing out there to find. No features, no depth changes, no nothing. So
really interesting then.
A really interesting venue. Now, but as it happens, it suits like the kind of fishing that I like to do anyway. It's no disturbance. You know, so I wanted to get some rods out there and some bait out. So I found that the best approach for me was certainly boilie fishing. So just got 2 rods out there and boilies over the top.
And to be fair, between you've had 7 takes, so you've done all right, mate. You know, bear in mind we've got here. You've got set up late. It's not excuses. It's fact. You know, we've got here quite late. You spent so long selecting where you want to be.
That's right.
Done what you do.
Yeah.
And you've had 7 takes. So that isn't, you know, you go anywhere and get 7 takes in a turn up late fish a night situation. Right. You're doing all right.
And I feel like the only chance that we're having is as the fish are passing one way or another. I don't think
see them a lot
sitting
of the time.
out there.
You
know,
groups of them, isn't it? You can see it's quite warm, as you can see, and the groups are coming past. You can see the backs. And Nigel said earlier when I rang him that he saw 2 or 3 fish sort of head and shoulder near him, and wallop, off goes the rod. So which is what you're on about.
Absolutely. Just as they're coming through.
And you've scattered your bait as well in your area, whereas Angie's is you've sort of centralised it round the edge of the island and that. I suppose it's because it's the feature, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah, that's right.
Passing it anyway.
They're always going to be around an island, and I think if you can keep your bait close to the island, but maybe a rod length off it, depending on the snags, obviously, and that's what we've done really. You know, just kept them just off the snags. We don't want to be riding them, and that's worked.
What have you done sort of rig-wise? Have you adapted? Because I mean, I walked out there yesterday, as I know you did, and there's about probably 6 to 8 inches of sediment on the bottom, isn't it?
There is,
have you gone with your sort of standard setup, pop-ups or?
I've actually gone with pop-ups on both rods, I don't normally fish with chods, but they do come into my armoury occasionally. But I have put a chod out at the moment because of the invisibility factor. You know, I've done it on like a naked chod. And so that sits over the top of any silt ever so easily. And my normal rigs, they tend to suit this kind of fishing anyway, to be fair.
This is like, I mean, a lot of what we do, areas like this where we fish up at Linear, isn't there? So,
that's right, there's not a great deal of difference on it.
Well, I think, you know, we're going to have to go and see Nigel now. We're going to have to go and see Nigel now. We want to go and see Nigel next. So, mate, we've got another 24 hours.
So fingers crossed.
And well done. And I'll nip off now and leave you to it.
Okay,
with
mate,
the lovely Angie, and I'll go and sit with Nigel.
Excellent, mate.
No worries.
Well, welcome to me swim. Bit of good timing. It's just roared off as we're getting ready to do some rig features. I'll show you those in a second. Just 3rd fish of the morning. Very quiet through the night. Lost one, but they seem to have sort of drifted back across in the last sort of couple of hours, and we're just picking a few up. You notice I'm keeping the rod quite low. It's very shallow. We don't want the fish up on the top thrashing about, so we're keeping the rod down low. There's no weed or snags in front of me, so I can do that. I'm not risking it. It's just coming in nice and steady. It's a warm day, so we're going to get straight back, and then I'll run through the rig that I'm using and exactly what I'm doing. Well, I've just got the fish back. It's good timing coming into the swim there. Whilst the rig's out the water, what I'll do is I'll just run you through what I'm using and how I'm using it. It's not really fashionable still, I guess, but tubing is something that's a big part of my fishing. The important things about tubing for me is how flexible it is, how heavy it is, and the fact that it's very good for fish safety, protects them, doesn't split the fins, lift the scales. What I've got here is one of the inline leads, and I've taken out the insert and replaced it with a tube gripper insert. What that does, traps the tubing inside, and then the thread and go tubing, which you can see there coming out, is pinched in there. It's not coming out unless you crack off, obviously, and then it will come away. But you can see from the tubing there that it's very supple, very heavy. Now, the tubing there and the inline gripper will come in a kit. You can buy those just in a kit, so it's easy to go for you and get all the right components to set up so you can use it for your fishing.
that your body makes.
Johnny boy,
Hello, mate.
caught any fish?
I've had a couple.
Right, I've found myself a little Johnny Finch, little teeny Johnny Finch, fish location Watercraft, or as Susie calls it, witchcraft. What's your take on it, mate? Because I know you've had a few fish now, you are on the end peg because no one likes you, but are you here because of that, or are you here because there's actually fish here?
Well, I arrived yesterday and I know there's quite a lot of fish in here.
Yeah.
And like the first swim that we walk in, you see some fish on the surface, so you instantly think, "God, I want to go there."
Yeah.
But you got to just take a bit of time and just walk around the lake. And I wanted to get on like the main bulk of fish.
Because there might have been more fish at the other end. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
So yesterday I had a good walk round, and the main bulk of the fish were down here, even though the first lot of fish we saw were right up the other end.
Okay, mate. Yeah, where
So-
me and John are.
Yeah.
There's none now.
Yeah. Well, it's just bad angling, really, isn't it?
Very
in all
bad
fairness?
angling, mate. But there you go.
But yeah, there was a lot of fish out in front of this swim yesterday,
Yeah.
and on the surface as well, which is what I like.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd give it a couple of hours on the top and see what happened, and it just seemed that the fish stayed here last night as well. So
Yeah.
I stopped here and put some rods on the bottom as well.
So if you walked on it yesterday, you'd never seen the place before. Forget the surface fishing. Where did you put your baits overnight and why? Because you didn't really know what was out there, John, did you? When you chose this area.
No, just literally whilst floater fishing, just watching the fish, seeing where they're going, and there just seemed to be an area sort of halfway out where they were. There's nobody down to my right, so it's always worth putting a rod down to your right.
It's like a little bay down there, isn't it? Around them reeds, yeah.
But no area in particular, but I just thought if I put a bit of spod out there, spread it out a little bit, just wanted to stop the fish in that sort of middle area, but not a spot in particular.
Yeah, I mean, it is fairly featureless out there as it happens, but we didn't know that, did we, when we came here, you know. Ordinarily, you'd be on to, I don't know anyone who's fished here before that we could have conflabbed with, but ordinarily, if it was a gravel pit, you'd be asking, you can Google it and everything nowadays, can't you, mate? You'd know where the bars are, the plateaus are.
Oh, yeah.
So you can research it before. So a lot of the watercraft, as you say, is done before you get here, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
The fish told you where to fish.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly obvious the bottom is pretty much the same all the way across.
Yeah.
And for me, like the only feature that you can make out there is your bait.
Yeah, fair comment. Good point,
so,
mate. Very good point. Well, there you go. We've only spoke to two of the guys about fish location and watercraft, which is Chrissy Lowe and John. Very well respected anglers, even though he won't want to hear that, and I hate saying it. But location, mate, isn't it, really? So,
yeah, that's key.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back to my location now.
Well, there's no carp.
Which is rather fun. It's up there somewhere. And see if we can get some rods in the water and maybe catch one or two ourselves. So, cheers, John. And I'll catch you later, mate.
See you later.
God bless, mate.
See ya.
Okay, this is the Avid surface spod. Been using it quite extensively this session. It's helped me catch about half a dozen fish. Been using it for a while now and it is absolutely brilliant bit of kit. Right, all you do, you fill the spod with your floaters, like so. Now, a useful little tip for you, some liquidised bread here. Use that to plug into the top. Push it down, like so. A little bit of booster liquid if you want to use it. Quality bit of kit as well. And all this does, it'll create a cloud seeping down through the water column. The liquidised bread will come out, that'll start clouding up the water up and down the column. The floaters will push to the surface, tightly knit, and that's it. It's the quality edge. Hopefully catch a few more carp.
Chod rig's very, very popular. Just going to run you through what I'm using. This is a 45-pound pin down in green silt. This is our flying chod bead. This particular one is the weighted version. The bead then runs over the little stop, as you can see, just pulls over nicely and neatly. There are two different diameters of bead, one for the naked chod and one for the larger diameter leaders like leg core and so on. Running down, I've got on the other end, either side of the rig, I've got the rubber version, exactly the same as the weighted one, but that is the rubber version. There's only one of these designed to fit on all type of diameters of lines. At the bottom, I've got a chod buffer bead. This buffer, as you can see, I haven't pushed it over the eye of the lead. And the reason for this is if the lead plugs in the silt, sometimes if you're using leg core, it will loop up and it will be visible to the fish. With this, it could plug in and this will sink down as a right angle if the lead is actually plugged in, so it lies nice and flat. Now for the rig itself is a 3-inch, 2.5-inch, 3-inch chod rig. A lot of people seem to ask me how to tie, when they buy ready tied chod rigs, they're always asking the question, how do I tie the bait to the ring without doing that loop knot, because sometimes people find that a bit fiddly to do. So what I'm going to show you in a minute is how to do it my way. I've got a pop-up and one of our floating mega sight stops. That makes it nice and neat. There's no stop visible, but like I say, I'll show you the little components in a minute and make one up for you so you can see. Right then, what you need is a pop-up and a razor blade. Now be careful with the razor blade, as you know it's very, very sharp. Now if I can see, if you can just trim a piece of the bait like that, you made it nice and flat. If you can see that, I've cut the top off the pop-up. Get a baiting needle, stick it smack straight in the middle of that flat end, it comes out of this end. Get a small piece of braid, hook it on to the hook and pull it through. So now you have a pop-up with a flat top and a loop of braid through it. If you get the mega sight stop, hook it on and now pull that in, you've got like a squashed snowman. Now the mega sight stop there will give it a visual attraction, and of course that there is code red, giving off the smell of the freebies that you're putting in. Then you have two tails hanging off here. You then, if you can see this, you've got the ring on the hook, thread it through. Now you've got it set like this, and you need to do about 3 or 4 overhang knots. There's the 1, get that through there. There's the 2. And there's the 3. Pull it nice and tight. Get a pair of scissors and just trim it off. And what I finally do now is to stop it from undoing, I'll get a little lighter and I'll burn the tag ends back. And there you have it. That's my way of tying on a bait for a chod rig, which I find is so much easier than making the lasso of loop of lowing. There you go. Hopefully I'll chuck that out in a minute and catch myself a fish.
Right, a lot of my fishing is about accuracy. I'm spodding, I'm feeding one area, sometimes 2, maybe 3 rods, so it's getting it back on the spot. I get asked loads about how you can do this, and you know, it builds you multiple catches. You're not fishing for one bite then, you're fishing for loads of fish. Well, we've got 2 different colours of marker elastic, irrelevant really. We've got a bright orange one and a bright green one. Either, they're both the same thickness. We're going to break off about 6 inches of that. Now I always tie my marker knot where the spigot is, just personal reasons. You can, if you want to drop it 6 foot behind your area and try it there, or 6 foot short of your area, I've got a rod length to work with accurately, okay? So now I drape the elastic alongside next to the nylon, create a nice loop with both materials, and the tag end goes through both loops 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now I know a lot of people that I've seen advocate twice, but I have it break off twice, or it comes off if you've got a fish on, so, and I don't want that. Now we've got it nice there, nice and limp. I'm just going to bite that off, probably about 3/4 of an inch to an inch either side. Again, it's at the spigot. We've explained that's why. Now we get down to the reel now. Why that is at the spigot, I'm just going to put that a couple of times around the reel clip. 2 or 3 times is better than 1, because we're also going to use it as a bit of a buffer, okay, for when we hit the clip and the rod falls forward. So once, twice, 3, let's go 4 times there, okay. Then we pull the rod in. Now I'm at about 50 yards here. It's nice and soft as well, this. When we used to use braid for this, you'd have to check that your braid was at the base of the spool for your recast. You don't with this. It's such a soft, nice, workable product. So we've got our rig in now. We're clipped up, marker knots at the spigot. I think to remember here is we're going to aim at the same tree quite clearly, hold the rod high and come down with the rod. When you're holding the rod at an angle like that, again it's buffers. When it hits the clip, let the lead pull. If you hold it rigid, the lead will bounce back. Let the lead pull the rod forward. It straightens the line, lays the rig nicely. You get a nice little bump if you're fishing on something quite firm, and you bang on the same spot every time. So there you go. No reason to not have multiple catches, your spods at the same range or whatever you're using, and there you go. Get back on that spot and you catch a lot more fish.
So it's been a nice day. The guys have been catching loads of fish, and it's the only time we've had all day to sit down. I mean, what time is it now? About 7:30, 8 o'clock?
It's just 7:30.
To talk about slack lines or tight lines. We get emails asking us when's the best time to use them, why do you use them, and why don't people use tight lines anymore? We're here on a state lake. We can get away with using tight lines. I've got many ideas and views on slack lines, tight lines, but we can talk about that all night if you want to.
Yeah, in all fairness, if we go too hot, you'll be here for hours. So, but briefly, my outline on this is, John, if I'm at any sort of range, I will have the line as tight as I can possibly get it, because I firmly believe any bleep is an occurrence.
So as soon as that fish picks something up, you're going to get an indication.
If you've got loads and loads of line out that's all supposedly hanging here, there and everywhere, it's obviously going to, it dilutes the indication.
This is right.
So, but if you're in the edge, I'm quite happily drop them on the deck.
So on weedy waters, you've found a spot. Between you and that spot, there's a couple of weed beds.
Yep.
You are quite happy to fish a tight line straight through the middle.
Yep.
And you see time and time again lots of guys there with a rod tip under the water and they're peeling off line. and they could be going over a couple of weed beds. That line will never pull off the rod, because it's got to pull it off their rod over those weed beds so it sinks on the bottom. That's never going to happen. Why is it?
Well, John, but there's another thing that we're not allowing for here, nature itself, because in a perfect world, that line has now done this year, but moving between the gravel bars or weed beds is something called drift. And it undertow, mate. You know, and it's the whole lake is constantly moving, as you know. Well, so your lines are being swept up, whichever way it's going. Sandhurst, mate. Sandhurst on there. When I first started fishing it a few years back now, I'd have my lines as slack as I could possibly get them, thinking it's a busy day ticket walk. It's relatively shallow. I don't want to spook them.
Is that the reason? It's a busy day ticket venue. Therefore, I need to sink my lines down so I don't.
It was for me. It was for me. But on sinking the lines, after an hour, instead of being out here, they were like that, literally. So now I've got a bow here, which again has diluted your indication. So a few of us on there then who fished together decided to plop them in the silt. I literally screwed that as tight as I can without moving that lead, and hang the bobbin to be hanging, twanging if you like. Boom, our catch rate rose and well above anybody else's on the lake.
So tight lines gives you more of instant indication. So if you're out there using slack lines, just remember when you've cast out and you're slacking off all your lines, if that fish swims towards you, are you going to get an indication?
Unless your line's actually gone round an obstacle to pull the line. Unless your line moves away from you, your bobbin can't raise. If your bobbin's on the deck and the fish swims at you, if the line's all slack, there's nothing to move.
50-50 chance that fish could swim towards you. Which means you're not going to get an indication that fish could be off around the corner in somebody else's swim. And by the time you've got any indication.
I've seen similar situations to what you know, not as extreme as that. But
I've had to take in the night my lines like that. And I've reeled in the morning. And the fish is down there.
You know, it's all about experimental, isn't it? You know, experience.
I mean, we're not here to tell the viewer exactly what to do, because it's up to them.
No, just leaving it grey from,
But I mean, the few things that you should remember is indication. The tighter the line you get, basically.
Ironically enough,
the tighter you get, the more instant indication. But also the downside is you've got a bowstring tight line.
But years ago, you would fish like this, certainly in the winter, to try and get line bites, to locate fish, you know, groups of fish.
Yeah, I remember doing it many years ago on Patsel, which is not that far away from here, where you would cast out, and if you got a liner, you'd bring the rod back in a little bit further, and you get another line, you bring it in.
I mean, that method in all fairness does apply more to a northern lake, should I say, because there's shallower silt.
Us northern anglers were obviously thinking.
You were more.
Well, you know.
My God, you were miles ahead of us, weren't you?
These silty meres.
Yeah, you little silty meres. But no, it is the shallower estate lakes you can get away with it. On the pits, where your line is going over about 80 yards, your fish could be here, and you're never going to know about it anyway. So you pay more attention to the lake, the southerners, and they have to be more alert.
Well, yes. Right. We'll leave it to you.
There you go. No, in all fairness, mate. Go on.
Yeah, so it's a difficult one. You judge what you do by what lake you're on.
Yeah.
So
by what swim you're in.
I know we could waffle on all day, but it's up to you. When you get to that lake, just remember, if you can get away with tight lines, if you really want to do it and get indication straight away, you will be different to the guy next door, because I guarantee he'll be on slack lines.
John, just to finish this and butt in, sorry, but if you've got two rods, try one on each.
That's true. There you go. One slack, one tight, see what happens. May fish exactly the same.
It may not.
But who knows? It works on some waters, it may not work on others.
Experiment.
We'll leave it to you.
Now, in my fishing, I visit so many different venues with my job. I'm always getting asked quick bites, because a lot of it's overnighters or just a day session, so quick bites. I've got a fairly standard rig that I use on most of these venues, and a fairly standard little stick mix, okay? Piles of attraction around the hook bait, again, labelling it, finishing it off here, quick bites. So I'm going to run through now what I put in the stick mix that I use. Right, initially, I'll break up 15, 20 boilies. Again, we don't need a whole tub full. We're just going to use enough to make a powdered base. Crusher, no better tool for that. So 20 boilies. On top of that, these little S pellets from Sonia Baits. Nice and oily. I haven't been anywhere yet and they won't grub around for these for hours. But again, it is quick bites, not the grubbing, but they're so good, they've got to go in it. Oh, next we've got the Flavour Shaker range. This is new from Sonia Baits. And there's 6 or 7 in the range. It's a powdered fragrance. Well, this one chocolate fish is my favourite, and if this was smelly vision, well, I might even make a cupful later and have a little go at it. It is so nice though, it's got to go in there. And it makes a change these days to use something sweet smelling. The fluid to bind it all, again, Sonia Bates, Booster Cloud. My favourite again, hot chocolate. It is so, so nice. It is just like you've made your hot chocolate. I'm not going to drink it though, but a nice liberal splash of that. Give it a good stir up, by the way, okay? Then I'll come to another new product of ours, a little pocket stick, PVA pocket stick. Stirring that, you can see it's all full of it, is the plunger, should I say, is perfect for a stirrer. And we just scoop enough out of that. Perfect. Against the palm of your hand. And there you go, we've already got one made, so we haven't got to go through that. We've got a bigger brother to that, which is called the wide load. I like this for big bags of pellets, maggots, you know, that even chum mixers and firing them out, but a nice big wide load one. Okay, so the main thing of this, they're all basic little ingredients. They all tie up together, make it nice and damp so it binds, which is what your fluid's all about. It's nice and greasy anyway. Bites all day long. Keep it simple and you're going to get takes.
And you've seen all the lads doing everything they can on the sitch to catch a few fish, seen all the latest gadgets. But not so long ago, in fact, only last week, literally 7 miles away from here, we had a session of a lifetime. So if you're not sitting down, I think you should get yourself comfortable, because this is a good one.
There we go. 15 maggots on half a red highlight and just a big bag of maggots. It's amazing, you know, most of us would throw a little bright bait and a bag of pellet. I just having the confidence to leave it really, which I don't know why I did have, but I did leave it and I'm glad I did now. That is a lovely, lovely carp. But literally just after this one, an hour after this one, the rod on the baited area went off. So we'll show you that in a while, because that sort of dwarfs this one. But that's off the spotted area, as I said. And we're going to sit this back now, do some stills, pop him back, and then we'll get one out that's even blew my mind away as it happened. So see you in a sec with an even bigger one. Well, from 37.12 to the next bite being, you know, I never thought I'd be in a position with a fish that you think of 37.12 is made to look small by your next bite. Well, this one does. This is absolutely enormous. I think I'm pretty sure it's going to be a personal best home and abroad. So, but we'll string it up and have a look. But before we string it up, just look at that. It's a fish known as Jonah, and it's the biggest one in the lake. A little bit of Russell luck for once. For once. Right, nick the net. Oh, blimey. And we'll string it up first, and then we'll do our little talky bit. Right. It's definitely over 30, okay? It's like 2 of that last one, isn't it? Blimey, mate. The hands are shaking. I suppose when they're not, it's not fun, is it? Right, Chrissy, up we go.
57.8 on the nose.
Do you want to read that and see so you can tell Rob? 57.8. Right, Chris. Come on! That is quite incredible. Blimey hell. You go fishing, and last week I was somewhere else with Chris, and they mullered the place, didn't you? And I'm sitting there and you think, God, are you ever going to catch one, let alone 57 pounds? That is 13 pounds bigger than any English carp we've ever caught, and 6 pounds bigger than any carp we've ever caught. So thank you, Jonah. When she settles down, I'll attempt to put a scaffold under it. Kiss the guns. Right, Jonah. How these little blokes that fish the Colne Valley, who catch these things quite regular and lift them up all the time, I don't know. Because that is a very, very big and very heavy carp. So, whoa, 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 whoa. Come on now. Right. That is not going to lift any higher. So that is a hippo, 57.5 pounds. For an angler, pure pleasure. Spotted area. When it went off, I actually thought it's another little one because it just kited on a long line. But when John Finch and I saw it come up and stick its self into view, things changed, because John there made a noise something like, oh. Okay, there you go. One more quick look at that, and then we'll get some stills. 57.5 pounds of English monster. Okie dokie. How are we, Chrissy? Right. You happy, Chris? Right, man, I've got to put it down for just a second. Right, just pop round the other side of the lake to have a word with Chrissy Lowe about leaders and end tackle. Now, I'm a great fan of fluorocarbon and trying to hide everything there. Chris has had a product of ours now for the last 4 or 5 months called Pin Down. Over to Chris.
Yeah, well, this Pin Down, it's almost like a lead-free lead core, if you like, but it sinks like a stone. It really does, and it's so supple. It just blends over all the contours behind your lead,
which is the all the little bits you're saying. Yeah, of course. This all of them so far. The sink, the colour of it, and that. The subtleness of it is suppleness, should we say, is a major part. It's why I don't use lead core.
Yeah, that's right. Well, sometimes it can be so stiff that it sticks up above objects that are just behind your lead.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just fishing just over weed. But this Pin Down, it absolutely hugs the bottom. And for me, it has completely changed my fishing in the last few months.
Really, that you've got that, because I know you do well wherever you go, Chris. In all fairness to you, but for you to say it's remarkably changed your fishing, your results.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a statement. You've got 2 different colours there and all.
I have, yeah. The lighter one is ideal over like sandy bottoms, the gravelly clean areas, you know, in the margins, things like that.
Yeah.
And then the weedy one, clayey one, if you like, is ideal for like most of my situations where I tend to fish like into the choddier areas, the dirty weed, just into the weed. You know, that blends in just lovely. And well, like I say, for me, they're the perfect colours for all the situations.
They cover everything, don't they? And what are you splicing this on?
Splicing it on, a drop of super glue just to secure the splice. Yeah. Just to be 100%.
Right.
And yeah,
and you're just tying the swivel on the base end of it and you're the bottom end of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Through the lead clip and tying on the swivel.
That's right.
Well, I mean, I can see that just blowing around. Look at that, just blowing around in the wind. There you are, over a couple of stones. That's mad, and you can feel the weight of that as well.
Well, I've got to be honest. I've used lead core for years now, and to me, it's never been a major issue. That little bit behind, but this has gone on that step further. And for me, I don't want to fish with anything else anymore. You know,
everyone now is pushing for these bobbins that your lines can be totally slack. And you know, if your lead core's poking up here, so is your nylon.
That's
you know, it's not giving it the chance to sink down and become heavy, is it?
Absolutely.
And hide away. So
yeah, that's right.
This hopefully will give us that opportunity. I might even start using it myself if I get some. No, I've never really been a big fan of lead core because I've had problems with it, like you're saying. I've seen it in the clear waters I fish and it pokes up.
Yeah.
So maybe this will get me on it then, mate.
For me, it's a must.
Oh, brilliant. Well, there you go. In the shop soon. Keep your eyes open for it. Pin down. Right, caught a few fish. I'm going to run through the terminal gear I'm using on this trip. From a short fluoro leader, we're down to a flat lead clip, a little ring swivel, PVA clip, which I'll come back to in a minute, but more importantly for me, our range of captive hook links. We've got 3 in the little family. One's a stiff mono for your chod, stiff hinge rig users. The middle one that I use occasionally for the solid bags is braid, really soft, really short hook links, very effective with your solid bag users. And this is my favourite, my coated one. Okay, brilliantly sharp hook, and we got through to that. Little boilie on the end, little code red. One of our maggot sight stops completes that setup. Now we've had fish on this. I'm forgetting what I have caught. First fish was 20 pounds, then an 18, then a 37. And incredibly for me, and you know, on all this gear, shows you how robust and how tough it is and how well it's doing, was a new PB for the UK for me, a 57 pound fish. So there you go, keep it simple. Now the PVA clip, what I'm doing is I've spotted out a load of code red boilies, 15 millers, and about half a gallon of maggots. So we've got a nice variety of food on the bottom. The PVA link, an extra knot in the top of that bag, pop it through the link, pull it down through that clip, which I'll show you a bit clearer there. So she's hanging there, all safe. Right, now what I do is hook the hook through the bottom of the mesh, because 2 reasons. A, with maggots, you might pierce a maggot, which will immediately start melting the PVA in all fairness, and B, you'll end up with a dead maggot on the hook point, which is not going to help you penetrate the fish once she picks it up. Now we've got this PVA clip because before we come up with this, fishing bags, big bags of pellet, whatever you've got in it, if you didn't check the cast on entering the lake, the lead would come off. Now we want the lead to come off in situations where there's snags, weed, but there's a reason for it. Everything we do, there's a reason for it. I don't use stuff that there's no need to be on the line. So the PVA link, on enter to the lake, everything's held together, okay? We can put the tail rubber on very lightly in case once this is all melted and you do get a take, you do want to lose that bomb. But most of the time, no point in losing the bomb unless you're in weedy or snaggy situations, as I said a minute ago. So you can push the tail rubber on a bit tighter if you want to keep your bomb in your open water situations, or put it on very lightly if you don't mind losing it, because again, the situation you're fishing. So PVA clip, a lot more thought gone into it than that little bit of metal looks, doesn't it? So keep it simple. We've done this for you carp anglers, from us, the carp anglers. Now last year we bought you the family of air range spods. This is one lovely little addition, it's called Air Cage. Okay, we've still got the fluorescent orange nose cone, buoyant clearly. We've tapered the rear end of it so it flies further. It can't fly straighter than the rest of them because that's what they do. But more importantly, the body is made up of a cage, like a strong mesh cage. When it enters the lake, this expels the goods within immediately. It's brilliant. It's on the surface, it skips back lovely because the water flows through it to initially get it on the surface, okay? And then it skips anyway, as long as you're using your braid. And there you go. And the last but not least bit is we've still got the easy load system on the back. Let's show you what I mean. Now I use it, I've got maggots here, which most spods you can't use unless you fill them up with water. Maggots. Now I use this for sloppy spodding. Boilies are a different gravy. It's not what we've made this is for boilies. We've got the solid one for boilies. But as you can see, there were maggots, no problem at all. Pellets, as long as it's a little bit damp, you'll get away with it. And out she goes. Flies like a dart, lands really light because it's a cage. Now that's clipped at 100 yards. Flick. A couple of little flicks on the surface to empty it, and we're back. Air cage. Remember that, because everyone will have them. And there we are. Skips all the way back, lovely. Now I spod on top of fish when I'm in the linear complex a lot, and that lands so lightly as long as you hit the clip, they don't know it's happening. Again, air cage. Go get yourself one. Carp couch. This is luxurious in the unhooking mat world. Now look at that. Carp care is obviously of the utmost importance. Now we've got little tensioning straps on the side of this, which put it all tight. Don't over tighten them because everything can be broken. Okay. Now once you've caught your fish and you've done your pictures and put her back, some other people want to catch them, including me. So major importance on this product. Now mates of mine have had fished over 50 pounds in these. So if you get a 50 pounder, certainly where we are now, you've had a result. So I've got a 25 pounder I caught about 10 minutes ago. I'm going to go and bring it in. It's bound to be a bit lively, and we can go a bit more in depth about it. Back in a sec. Right. There we are. Now he's very, very lively, this one. We've had him about, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago. And they're always lively anyway, so. But it just shows you, I mean, straight away, he's out of sight of the camera. He's bedded in there, comfortable. It's not bouncing on the floor, as you can hear. It's actually the mat that's supporting the fish. So I'm going to lose the net from underneath him, like so. And also worth pointing out is our retaining slings and our weigh slings. We've created them all to fit as kit, so they all fit within these. Now look at that. I'm going to get up here for me pictures, and I just know he's going to kick off. But what a lovely little fish, safe as it's ever going to be, a foot off the ground, over and above the carp couch. What a lovely product.
Right then, I want to talk to you now about helicopter setups. Now the reason for some of you that don't know what a helicopter setup is a longer hook link attached, like a chod rig, attached to your leader. In this case, this is 45-pound pin down. Now I've got a weighted flying chod bead on there as well, very close to the lead. Instead of setting it further up here like a chod, it's down to the lead. Now, it got its name for when it was in flight, it would rotate like that. That is why and how it got its name, the helicopter rig. Now this is a good 10 inches of super supple captive green hook link, 3 blobs of tungsten putty. This is so it gets pinned down to the lake bed. Now if you're fishing on a gravel bottom, this is great. If you're fishing in silt and you don't know how deep the silt is, this hook link could be buried right in the silt and the fish can't find it. So what you need to do, if you get your bead and slide it up 8 to 10 inches again, now that could be the depth of the silt. So when the lead drops in flight, the hook link will be up to the stop. So when the lead drops in there, this hook link will sit on top of any silt or any debris that's found on the bottom. Now with braid, you're always going to get it falling not perfectly straight. Ideally, you'd want it to drop like this. If you did want it to drop like that, then you'd probably need to go on to like a hinge stiff rig, where when the lead does hit the bottom, this would fall down perfectly and in the right prone position. The only problem with fishing this is if you don't get the depth of your silt right, it could get dragged into the silt, looping everything up and make the rig ineffective. So, if you're fishing a hard bottom and you want the rig to be presented at the right distance away, then use a hinged stiff rig. If you're fishing in real thick silt and you can't guess the depth of the silt, go on to supple braid. So if the braid does go in, at least it's sitting firmly on the top of the silt. So remember, firm bottom, use a stiffer rig. Soft silty bottom, use a braided rig. Just remember those two things. If in doubt, braid for silt, stiff for firm bottoms.
Right, Chris and Angie, of late, have been really slaughtering at Linear Fisheries. It's a local venue, and I've just nipped round to have a chat with Chris. What's going on? Why are you doing it? And because a lot of people there aren't doing it anywhere near as well as you guys. So,
no, I mean, I think a lot of it is down to putting the right amount of bait in,
yeah,
at the right times,
yeah,
and just fishing it as effectively as possible.
Completely luck then.
Yeah, completely lucky.
Yeah, could be that. Yeah, but in all fairness, you take this very serious. I know you take this seriously. And when you caught them fish at the Manor, you said there was last year, similar sort of time, you know, results were being had, so you monitor it.
That's right.
And
yeah.
it's time management in it as well.
Try and get on the waters just when things are just peaking and they're looking for the food.
Yeah.
And I do like to feed them, so that's essentially what I do.
And it's code. I mean, we've got the new boilies. It is code red you're using as the food value boilie, isn't
Absolutely,
it? Absolutely. So and the rest of it's what?
I use S-feed pellets. I use the elliptical barbel pellets.
Yeah.
And then the tins of Empen corn.
So it's all sort of Sonia Batesy stuff
all
anyway.
Sonia Bates stuff, yeah. I've got full faith in it all. Yeah. It works, the fish eat it and they just keep coming back and looking for it.
But the other week, right, I've got to say, I popped over to see Chris and Angie on St John's. You had 2 trips there, I think, and you're managing your time there as well because the big one hadn't been out and that was what you was really hoping for.
Yeah.
But when I sat on the bank with you drinking tea, I looked down the social bank at St John's and there was, God knows, it was like Brighton.
That's right.
But the only rods that were going off was yours again, mate.
Yeah.
You know, so...
Yeah, but a lot of it's coming from the end tackle stuff as well. We've got a lot of new products out, you know, coming out soon.
Yeah.
And we're putting those through the paces, and I believe they're the best products I've ever put on my end tackle.
That's a big statement from you because you fished a long time. So if we go from, we've got the rod and reel, then we're coming down, so you've got, what, 3 or 4 foot of pin down?
Yeah. I've got 2.5, 3 foot of pin down, generally is my preferred length. Then I've got flat lead clips.
Yep. You've got the captive hook links. I know you've got them because we've all got them at the moment.
Right. And then the new hooks.
Yeah.
I know you favour the longer shank ones, but I prefer the curved ones. That's my personal favourite.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for me, to be fair.
And I remember you saying at a meeting to get these out, they actually go don't they? Which is rare, isn't it?
That's
you know,
right.
you pop the hook.
Yeah.
Nowadays, a lot of them are out by the time you get the fish in the net. Well,
that's
when
right.
it goes
In
in the net. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, these you've got to take out.
Yeah.
You know.
But also, not your fishing. I mean, you've had briefly yourself. You've had two, I know you have because I've been there. You've had 2 40-pounders.
That's right.
God knows how many 30s in the last few trips from St John's and the Manor.
Yeah.
But there is usually to the left of you, there is a pin up, which is using the pin down. The gorgeous Angie. Now Angie
right,
has been absolutely. I mean, a couple of trips, Chris. She's outdone you, mate. In all fairness,
well,
hasn't she?
Well, just last week, for instance, I mean, I had 12 fish off the bottom. She was in the next swim to me, and she was fishing just zigs.
Yeah.
With all the zig lights and the
highlights
on.
Yeah.
And she had 20 fish. With
I'm
230s.
going to stop. This is the Manor. Now, the Manor on the linear, none of them are rock hard, but the Manor would be the most difficult ones to build a catch. You know, a catch like that is Brasenose Oxleys, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and I sat on the other bank like that for 3 days because we couldn't get near the fish, me and Keith. And Keith, so many times, you know, mentioned Angie in the right way. She never stops.
No, she doesn't, mate. She really works a swim. And with the zigs, you know yourself, you can be 6 inches away from them, and it's not working.
Ignore them.
But she's gone everything from 3 foot to 10 foots, and covered every space in between, and with every single colour of the zig lights and the highlights, and she's constantly at it. She hasn't had a run in half an hour, 40 minutes. She's changing something.
She's hyperactive, isn't she?
Yeah, she is
and
hyperactive,
it was great watching her because I quote Brasenose because you get that on Brasenose a lot, but I've never seen action like that you guys had in a couple of 2 nights, 3 nights, whatever it was, on the Manor. Unbelievable, mate.
Yeah, it was almost like a match situation because going backwards and forwards between the 2 swims, it was phenomenal, really.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
You know?
But it's knowing, again, 2 good anglers in the right peg.
That's right.
When it goes off, boom. The rest of the time you're sitting waiting for it.
Yeah.
And when it happens, you're on it, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've got, like I say, you've got to make the most of the situations.
Well, there you go. Chris and Angie, at present, slaughtering venues near you. In all fairness, if you're on linear, go and have a chat with Chris and Angie. They don't mind. I won't make you a coffee. This is real rare, but they will help you out with pointers and tips if you need them. Thank you very much. Cheers, Chris.
No problem, mate.
Right then, now I've got a little minute. The fish catching machine that is Ian Russell is actually now left the lake, so I've scurried up into his swim because he's catching all the fish from here. And I've quickly chucked my rods out onto the same spot, put a few maggots out, and within half an hour I've had a great fish of 42 pound, which you've just seen. So now I'm chilled and relaxed. I'll actually show you what I've been doing and what rig I've been using. So I'll start off with the main line. This is 15 pound main line. This is a pin down. It's an unleaded leg core leader that sinks incredibly fast, and it's very, very supple. Short, small tail rubber, flat clip, and this here is 15 pound captive coated hook link. Little counterbalance weight, nice sharp hook, and on this bit here is a little highlight and 4 plastic maggots. It is actually as simple as that. So what we do, we use one of these. It's 2 pop-ups. I like to use the bright yellow ones. I know Ian likes to use the bright pink ones, but he calls them boobies, so I'll leave that to your imagination. So what you need to do, if you just hook that into the middle, and as the rig goes down, the lead hits the lake bed, this sits up, and when it's dissolved, this then slowly sinks down on top of any weed that's present. Now these two will also give you a visual indicator out in the lake, so you can actually spot out exactly over the top of your hook bait. It's really as simple as that. Don't need to be complicated, just get it in the right spot, the right time, You can catch some great fish. For all you guys out there that need something light and easy to set up, then this behind me is the perfect thing. It's the Alpine 60-inch oval brolly. Very easy to set up and made on the fantastic Durastop material. It's got built-in stability rods. Now these rods aid the setup process. Once you put the bivvy up, it freestands. Then all you need to do is peg it round. It's as simple as that. You don't actually need to use storm poles. There are additional storm caps provided, so in bad weather you can put more poles on and make it really strong on the ground. It's very, very simple to put up, very, very strong, and it's a must-have for the short stay angler or that guy that just wants something a lot lighter than a conventional bivvy. Now this is your chance to take part in the 2013 Avid Carpers DVD. All we need you to do is submit a very small video clip of yourself reviewing any of the Avid Carp products. Now the winners will be put on the website, but the overall winner will come and join us on location filming the 2013 DVD. So all I can say is best of luck to everyone, and I'll see you next year.